Tesla's chief executive officer and billionaire Elon Musk is giving, quote, serious thought to building a new social media platform, which he announced in a post last weekend. According to Reuters, Musk was responding to a Twitter user's question on whether he would consider building a social media platform with an open source algorithm and one that would prioritize free speech and where propaganda was minimal.
Musk has been critical of Twitter and its recent policies. His announcement comes a day after he put out a Twitter poll asking users if they believed Twitter adheres to the principle of free speech. Over 70% voted no. I'm surprised that there's 30% that thought that Twitter does adhere.
Twitter's better than the rest, though, right? I mean, it's a sliding scale.
I don't know if Twitter's better or worse than Facebook.
Yeah.
It's kind of debatable. There are things I like about Twitter better. I like their sort of birdwatch fact-checking thing is better than Facebook's third-party fact-checkers, which are atrocious. Twitter lets you, and it doesn't block the whole article. They let you like put a comment on that, and then you can comment on that comment, and it's a better program than Facebook's like just utterly awful fact-checking. But I don't know. I guess I don't know which is worse overall. Dorsey was kind of committed to free speech in some ways, or he was the most.
So was Zuckerberg.
So Zuckerberg, and Zuckerberg's still there.
Right. I mean, they both were out, but they both have. I think both platforms censor. They just censor slightly different content. Same thing with YouTube. So it's really challenging navigating all of these big tech platforms for a show like Rising, for example, because if we're posting clips on Twitter and on YouTube and on Facebook, you have to kind of know. Okay, each platform has its own rules and regulations, and they're not all the same. And so what is it going to be? But, it's interesting to think about a platform that would prioritize free speech. I'm not really sure what that would look like. My guess, if Elon built it, I don't know if it would be one of those things where it's like, where he goes full throttle with it and says, okay, let's do this like Twitter alternative, or if it would just be something he kind of builds.
Couldn't you just buy Twitter and then change its policies? That would be but why start over? Buy Twitter and just fix it up a little bit.
There you go. And the richest man in the world, why not?
Yeah, and the whole having it be free speech, so it's a private organization, so it doesn't have to follow the First Amendment. None of these, platforms do. And I don't think, and even when people say they just want it to be a free speech platform, usually what they still want some level of moderation. Like we don't just want it to be, porn and death threats and harassment.
Although there's porn on Twitter.
There is porn on Twitter. It's a very notable.
Porn on Twitter.
It's the most discordant social media policy there is. Porn allowed on Twitter, not on any of the other platforms. But all this, some amount of harassment and policing of that kind of stuff, pretty much everybody at the end of the day is going to think is appropriate. The question is, where do you draw the line? And different people would draw it differently. But any platform that sets out to say, no, we're never going to draw that line, there's no line, it's not going to be a good platform. That said, it could definitely be more allowing of open discussion and debate of legitimate issues like the things we talk about on the show or try to talk about to the extent YouTube lets us. That could certainly be a better and an improved norm on a platform like Twitter.
For me, the line is the law. So if something is breaking the law, then that would be where the line is. But
I think the law is a line, but there would be more like technically, I don't think it's illegal to to say where someone lives or what their phone number is, right? That you can't go to jail for sharing that information. On Twitter, I think if you post someone's phone number or address, physical address, I think they should take it down. I would support a social media policy against that kind of behavior, even though that behavior is fine under the First Amendment, right?
Is it really? You're not. It's totally legal to dox somebody everywhere.
Absolutely.
Huh.
Yeah.
They'd have to shut down Nexus.
Well, now that I think about it, I guess they do it all the time. Like here in LA, you could do a tour of the Hollywood homes, right? Go see the celebrities' homes. We'll drive you by them. Yeah. So I suppose.
Yeah, there are some things that should be different on social media they're not complete First Amendment, I think. Just my opinion. That kind of stuff I think they should prohibit.
Right, but maybe those could be genuine community guidelines. Like, for example, if they collectively put it out there and asked the people, would you be okay with doxing? Should we allow that on a platform? And people would overwhelmingly say no. then they'd say, okay, that's part of the community guidelines. One of the issues with these big tech platforms is they're not even really asking the community what the community wants or doesn't want, right? They're just telling us these are our community guidelines, whether you like them or not. But maybe if something was more inclusive, right, and said, as a community, what do we
maybe,
as a people?
But for all we know, the community on Twitter in particular might be totally for absolute censorship of dissenting views, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, be careful.
Not on Facebook. No, on Facebook, I think the community would be very, very allowing of the kind of right-wing speech that often gets shut down. And I don't know about YouTube, but on Twitter, I think Twitter liberals pretty decisively outnumber conservatives, I would expect. But
yeah,
well, if there was a vote to be had, then maybe more conservatives would show up and say, I'm going to cast my vote.
We're not that excited about elections in this country in general.
Yeah. Maybe if it were about social media, Ryan, you just got to get them excited about the right thing.
Well, that is what our elections are about now, actually. I mean, that's basically like Ted Cruz's entire platform is, and the Texas Republicans run on where we're not going to allow your grandmother to be shadow banned.
Or another example, I've reported accounts that are impersonating me before. I don't know if that ever happened to you, right? I've reported those and they take them down. It's not illegal to do that.
And then I put another one right back up.
Right. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks. Yeah, that was Ryan doing it. That's another thing that's not illegal under the First Amendment that I nevertheless
impersonating someone else.
Yeah.
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 Right. That makes sense.
So some moderation, good, but the platforms go way too far, I think.
Well, because those aren't about ideas, right? Impersonating someone and doxing someone isn't about discussion of ideas. So maybe the platform, rather than saying, okay, we're a free speech platform, it should be, we are free for discussion. We're an open discussion platform. Yeah, and maybe that would be a better way to phrase.
I agree with that. And if Elon Musk were to build something like that, I would be in favor of it. Or maybe just take over Twitter. That'd be fine with me.
Tesla Social.
Tesla Social.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Well, we'll have more rising after this.